All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Is the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Everyone is present for roll call. Motion to approve the agenda, please. Marge, seconded by Carvolio. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Motion carried. Minutes from May 10. Pease, Baker second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carried. Correspondence?
There is none.
Project status, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The departments should have gone through and updated the project status report. I think the Sheriff's Department had an update on the vehicles. They did receive two. Yeah, they received 2 vehicles. Are there any questions on the projects for the departments?
I see none, Kyle. Thank you. Moving on. Oh, we've got several here. Judge Bonnet.
Good morning.
DA. So take your turns.
Do you want me to start? Okay. Do you have to go to court?
Not till 10.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Is it okay if I stay here? I know the mic is helpful for folks that might be on Zoom. Okay. I always feel like I have my back to you guys. I wanted to start with the expense report. I don't know how closely anybody is looking at it, but you'll notice if you are that ours is over on a number of items. I just wanted to make the committee aware that we've been keeping in communication with Kyle and Cynthia about the issues that have caused this, which is essentially just reorganizing how our office is structured and what business we're doing versus the clerk of courts. The overtime overage was due to a vacancy and one person covering 2 jobs and working extra hours. That is no longer incurring. And similarly with office supplies and trainings, we just didn't have a budget that was set up for our current structure. So we are confident that we won't be over on the ultimate bottom line. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Any specific questions about it? All right, then business in general is going well. Both clerk, juvenile clerk, register and probate, and judicial assistant. So the 2 people that are filling those 4 positions are settled in and doing really well. It's very helpful to Judge Wood and I to have somebody managing our daily operations, and I think they're doing a great job. I went to about 14 trainings in the last 12 months. They were all funded by the state of Wisconsin. The county didn't pay anything for those. I am trained out. Hopefully they pay off, and I'm 14 trainings smarter now. It's been a good year. I'm coming up on the 1-year anniversary of taking the bench in August. So I'm excited to get into year 2 and feel like I'm, settled a little bit. A fun story is I had my first jury trial. Judge Wood thought it would be a good idea for me to take his 6-person speeding jury trial because it would be an easy way for me to cut my teeth with a jury on a very low stakes case. And law enforcement will tell you speeding cases almost never go to trial with a jury. This one did. And I was all excited because I thought this was a great experience. I felt kind of sorry for the 6 people that had to sit through a speeding trial, but they sat through half of a speeding trial, and then a legal motion was made, an amendment to the charge, and the person then pled guilty to the amended citation. So we started a speeding jury trial and we didn't even get to finish a speeding jury trial. So that's, I'm confident I'll never forget my first jury trial experience as a result of that.
It was a speedy trial.
It was a speedy. It was very speedy because he was going 122 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone in his 2017 Corvette. So it was a very speedy.
That shouldn't have taken long to get through there.
So that's my fun story for the month. So any questions about courts?
Easy.
All right.
I have a question.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I call.
How is drug court going? Do we have enough participants now?
Yes, thank you for asking about that. I should have made that part of my report. We graduated a participant last week who did amazingly, and he works for the school system, and one of his supervisors actually came to watch him graduate, which was really special. We haven't had an employer in the past that I can think of that showed up for a graduation. We've also added 4 or 5 new participants, Rebecca, in the last few months. So I think we're at 11 with 3 on the horizon. That sound about right?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, our capacity is 15 and we're nearing it for the first time in the court's history. So
If I remember right, about 6-7 months ago, we were down to 2, 3, maybe 1 even.
yeah, we've hovered around 5 consistently. So this is new and good. It's what we see happening too with some graduations and a bigger population is they're creating their own support networks for each other, which is really critical for them to do, because it's one thing for professionals, many of whom have never been in those shoes, to try to, help, guide, even dictate sometimes. But when they work with each other and support and hold each other accountable, I think that's really where it's effective. So our 2 of our graduates consistently come to court, even though they're not in the court any longer. So, and one's running a group in town. So I think our newest graduate will continue to attend whenever he can. And then the next person to graduate, I feel the same. He'll do the same thing. So yeah, I'd say it's going probably as well as it ever has.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
You get a star for the day, Rick.
From the second row.
Anything else, Tanya?
Not for me.
Rebecca, you got things to add?
Oh, I gotta push the button. I just wanted to add, we had within the last month a personnel change. We currently have the legal secretary position is vacant and we are in the process of hiring. I can't confirm anything yet, but we are in the process and an offer has been extended. So hopefully we'll have that position filled soon. Overall, I think we've had a few hiccups with the change in staff, but I think we'll be able to smooth it out here pretty quick. Otherwise, I think overall things are going well. Our numbers continue to be in line with those last year. And one update for our office was in early May, Deputy DA Jonathan Barnett and I did go to the state Senate as a result of a statutory definition change that Deputy DA Barnett drafted as a result of a case I have here to change a definition that would impact sexual assault victims. It will be more expansive and helpful. So we did actually give testimony in front of the state Senate. My understanding was there was supposed to be some action on June 7th, but I haven't gotten an update to see if the state legislature will in fact adopt the amendment, but all the feedback we've gotten is that it's been very well received. So it's very likely it's just a matter of working through the bureaucracy. Other than that, I don't really have any updates unless there's specific questions for me.
Peasy.
Are we utilizing any interns this year?
Oh, yes, we are. Thank you. Another gold star.
2 stars.
We're lucky to have returned Rosie Perez Guerrero, or I always mix it up. Guerra. I always mix up her last name, sorry. She's been interning with our office for 3 or 4 years at this point. This year though, she has completed her 2nd year of law school. So she's to the point where she can actually appear in court now. So we're working on getting her ready to start doing that.
Anyone else? I appreciate you guys attending and giving us an update report. That's beneficial for us. Thank you kindly. All right, if there's nothing else, and if you got somewhere to go, go ahead. That's fine. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right. Child support. Janet had a written thing. Any questions? Clerk of Circuit Court. Also, same thing. Emergency Management. Jane Jervis,
Good morning.
welcome.
Does anyone have any questions on my reports?
Come on, don't let her off that easy. I don't see anything, Jane.
Well, we've had questions the last few months, so you can give me a break.
Mr. Pease.
Jane, you caught me in the hallway or just said that you had gotten some feedback about some of your own work lately about cell towers. Could you tell us about what's going on?
Okay, so I did put that in the report, but our US cellular towers for we have lease agreements with US Cellular at 4 of our towers, and they were due to expire at the end of this year. I had sent a letter back in March to US Cellular, did not hear anything back from them, ended up contacting them and worked with their legal attorneys and our corporation counsel, and I've already gotten those finalized and signed, approved by Corp Counsel and signed by our administrative coordinator, county manager.
Anyone else? That it, Jane?
That's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Medical examiner, Ms. Rogers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It was a busy month for us, not so much in the number of calls at 17, which is becoming average, but in the types of calls. We had 2 motor vehicle accidents, 2 suicides, and 3 accidental deaths. One of those being drug related, not a drug overdose, but drug related. So that pending that you see on there, that did become accidental. That was the drug related one. We did have a tissue donation. So that was good. I believe that was our first one of the year. That's it. Otherwise, everything else was as it usually is, busy.
Supervisor Pease. I just thought I'd, send it your way.
In the spirit, you're killing me.
Don, Mike, Marge. All right. Thank you, Marilyn.
You're welcome.
And here's one we've been waiting for a month. Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, everyone. So any questions on my first report there? Basically, just a couple of things. We participated in Student Government Day, held the ATV safety course, and then just a couple news releases that we had.
Supervisor Pease.
Lana, could you go back down, show that again, what you just had up? I see there's a fatality accident on County Road D. I listened to the highway. Is that the portion of road that they would like to redo for the ATV, UTV area?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is not. So this accident happened in the 400 or 500 block of County D, I believe. And the ATV application is for the 800 block.
Okay. Just wondered.
All right, so if there's no questions there, I'll go to the next one, which is the expenditure report, and then all of our numbers for the months. And nothing really to point out there unless there's any questions on this portion.
I don't see anything.
All right. So the next is the inventory ID.
Maybe I could say something about that, Brent. Fact is, I had called, the last one we had, some of those were hard to identify what type of machine or vehicle it was. So I asked our manager to see if she could get that going so we could have something that we knew what was what. And she did, went through Kyle and on to Dave. And so this is our report. So go ahead, Brent, or Dave, whoever would like to handle it.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to point out there unless there's specific questions about any equipment.
Yep. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the one that I had presented a couple months ago. The primary changes that I made on here was the equipment. I had outlined which ones are ATVs, which ones are snowmobiles, which ones are boats, and which ones are UTVs. And Dave and I went through all of the squads. Can't quite read that. Okay, so then the yellow ones that are the ones that are highlighted in yellow, those are ones that we're going to be selling this year. And then the two ones that are highlighted in green are the spare vehicles for when squads are involved in accidents. They do need spare vehicles available. And then we also put the deputies that are assigned to each vehicle on this list.
All right. I have a question regarding, I suppose, yeah, the Crestliner boat. Okay, so we picked that up. Well, that was 2005, 13 grand, and now replacement is 60. Is that accurate? Ooh. Anyone?
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna look up in the capital budget. I'm assuming that's where that number was pulled from, and that was the estimate for how much it's gonna cost to replace it.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll also say that seeing as how this committee is responsible for some of the things they put in the budget, we thought it would be appropriate that we make sure we know what is what. So, and that was the purpose behind it. And like I told Dave, it wasn't a witch hunt or anything like that. It's just for information for this committee that they understand what we'll be buying and what we won't. So that's it. All right. I guess we can move on.
All right. The
Annual sheriff's report. Yep.
The one other thing I wanted to add just before that is I had recently had conversations with the county manager and Kyle about I guess trying to incentivize some hiring practice. We've been a couple positions short in a jail for a period of time, and it's a difficult job market out there right now. And I guess what we've come up with, or what we're gonna look into now, is we had received a grant a number of months ago that we already have received. So we were awarded the grant, and part of that grant we can use for hiring bonuses. And so we're gonna look to use some of that money for filling these last spots in the jail. So I just want to make you guys aware of that, and I guess we'll work with the manager and Kyle on how we're gonna move forward with that if we do, I guess.
County manager.
What all that, you knew what was coming. Mr. Chair, so Kyle, would you want to explain a little bit further about some of the safeguards with this bonus and how it ensures retention?
Yep, Mr. Chair, looked at it a little bit this morning because we were just told about it the other day, and the personnel that are to receive the incentive, it's capped at $2,000 for the bonus or that the county's able to offer. It's 100% reimbursed. And then the staff are to sign a 3-year agreement that they will stay with the county for 3 years. And then there's also an additional incentive for individuals that have prior law enforcement experience from out of state. They are able to get a bonus of $500 per year of out of state experience with a cap at 4 years. So another 2,000. So there's a potential of new hire bonuses of $2,000 to $4,000. And again, that's all funded through the grant, and the grant award was $45,600 some odd dollars.
So let me ask you this, why is the bonus or the grant for out of state?
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
That was just how they had structured the grant and put the rules on for the grant. I think it's it may be like, because it's from the Department of Administration, so the state of Wisconsin. So it may be something to get people to move to the state is probably their reasoning behind that.
That makes me feel better. Thanks. Supervisor Pease.
You said something about retention, and I'm wondering, is this for all new hirees, or is to help retain the staff we currently have also in the jail? Because sometimes we forget about our good employees that are already working here and staying here and doing the job, short people already. So I'm thinking, what are we doing for them, for their retention, if this doesn't cover that? Because if people go, well, geez, you got $2,000 to start, I got nothing. Out straight up. I mean, that's the way people talk.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Cynthia.
Chair.
Yep.
So we're still researching the parameters of this grant opportunity, the 45,000, as it pertains to staff that's been here. So I suppose if we have new recruits since the grant inception, we might be able to include them. But prior to that, we don't know yet. So if we go back and we start to try to think about other incentives, we might be opening up a can of worms for departments county-wide. So we have to be careful about what incentive we put out there, because others will want it too. And then we're dealing with budget constraints.
Go
But
ahead.
I understand.
I understand exactly what you're saying. So if one gets it, everybody should get it. But we're also talking about positions that are hard to fill positions also. And we talk about that all the time. I'll give you, for example, when I left the prison, we had over 100 correctional officers. I just went to a prison outing the other day. They're down to under 80 correctional officers. Their incentive is 16,000 to move here, to sign up right now. So this is a rarely hard position to fill. So I mean, people also understand that also. I mean, if they want theirs, I mean, they could always maybe change careers and go into the corrections and come to the jail to get that, but not everybody wants that job, trust me.
Marge.
I have a question for the sheriff. It's not anything to do with this part of your report, but with the 911 calls, have you seen, is that becoming problematic here as it is in some of the other counties?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
Yeah, it has been an ongoing problem. We have sent out communications on Facebook about it. I commonly talk on Wisconsin 106 on my monthly radio talk about that. And recently, a few weeks ago, we made a flyer that we shared on Facebook. I also shared it out to the parks and some other law enforcement in the area and other businesses to help identify what the problem is, because most people that have the accidental 911 calls, it's just that the phone automatically calls 911 because of a vibration or some unintentional act. But that does, when we receive that does require us to go check the area of the location of that 911 call. So it is very problematic. I can tell you, as part of the Badger State Sheriff's Association, have reached out to the National Sheriff's Association, who have been in contact with Apple and Android, to try and make that option on the phone and opt in instead of an opt out. So what that means is your phone automatically comes with that setting set, and we're looking to get it so you actually have to click it to opt in to make that 911 call instead of automatically being there. Because we see, I don't have the numbers right in front of me there, but we see a number of them a month and a day. And then in the busy holiday weekends, we see a lot more of them around the area. So it is very problematic.
I just talked to someone that it's been somewhat problematic for them, and it's a pocket dial. It's the smartphones are automatically doing this, and it's got to be an absolute disaster for the sheriff's department if they have to go back and follow up on every one of them. So Supervisor Pease.
It was mentioned in admin finance about your new scheduling for the dispatchers. Could you kind of give this committee a little overview of that so they kind of know what's going on in your area?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Go ahead.
Let me just, Chief Deputy Carlson pulled up the stats. So for last week, we had 62 911 hang-up calls alone last week. And so that's each call requires a deputy to go to that area of the GPS location. So that was last week alone. So a lot of those. As far as dispatch, so this is we talked about the dispatch schedule last year, and we were 2 positions short in dispatch. We have accepted offers at this time with the last 2. We also have some staff out on FMLA, and so we're running short in there right now because of some of those issues. And so the 12-hour schedule allows us to have 4 scheduled dispatchers a day as opposed to 6 with the 8-hour schedule. So it's less staffing and more hours is essentially what it is. And it's was favored by the staff in there. And so I had a meeting with Cynthia and Kyle, and we were allowed to make that move. So that was implemented on June 8th, I think, last Sunday, the first pay period of June. So that's we're just into that, not quite 2 weeks.
Regarding the dispatch, I would assume it's somewhat predictable with the history that just picking numbers between 8 and 11 in the evening would be a higher rate than 8 to 11 in the morning. Do you schedule your shifts to compensate for that if it's predictable?
Well, I don't know that it's predictable because we never know when the 911 call is going to ring. But we're staffed with 2 24/7, so we don't typically have a third person in there. Even on holiday weekends or anything, we do have the availability, and we have at certain times if events or different things like that. But normally it's just with 2 dispatchers.
Well, there's through the news, through the years, every once in a while there's a horrific deal where 911 doesn't get answered or gets postponed or whatever. Do you experience any of that in our little area?
For a 911 call not getting answered?
Yeah, something like that.
I would say no, not at all. And even if, for example, we had 2 911 calls active at the time, it's programmed to roll over to Marquette County. So it would always get answered. It may not be by our dispatcher, but if we experience a problem with our 911 lines, they're automatically rerouted to Marquette County and they answer them and then communicate back to us what the need is.
Good. That's a good answer. Thanks. I see nothings. So moving on to the annual report.
All right, so I'm just going to point out a couple tidbits out of this report. So so last year the cover there is the new single point entry. So that was new in 22 for us. It opened February 14th, and from February 14th to the end of 2022, we screened approximately 52,000 people and over 33,000 items in the baggage scanner, and we prevented 3 firearms, 447 knives, blade instruments, 17 chemical, like OC, mace type of things, and 62 other weapons from entering the courthouse complex. And I just got to find the other part that I wanted to talk about in here.
Brent, well, you just went through those numbers. What did you say? How many thousand? Was it like 40?
We screened approximately 52,000 people.
Here?
Yep.
No.
The same scanner that you walked through this morning. Yep. So it has a counter on it, so we know how many people go through there. So in a day, it's a lot of the same, like employees going out for mail and different things.
Right.
But nonetheless, they're screened, whether it's coming in or going back out or whatever. That's how you're still screened. So.
And so, how many weapons have you kept that didn't go back to their cars or whatever? And then what type of weapons? Probably a jackknife.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Most times they are just returned, but we do confiscate a number of them.
3 guns. What did you do? How was that procedure?
So that's if they can return that to their vehicle as well. I don't know specifically in this case what happened with those firearms, but they can lawfully have it. They can return it to their vehicle. They just can't come in with the firearm or even the holster, the empty holster.
Tanya.
I just want to say thank you for this because it's really important to me personally and to us in the courts that we're doing this 1-point entrance and screening. And also the court security deputy staff, in particular, Deputy Hoyer, have been really helpful to me as a new judge. They're very good. He in particular is very good at keeping control of the courtroom when there's agitated people. And so I just wanted to say how much I appreciate this. And I know it's, I know it's requires personnel and it requires, a lot of running around for those folks between the front entrance and courtrooms, but it's much appreciated.
Thank you. It's always appropriate. You still looking?
I am, but basically it was about our calls for involving weapons, and it went up again for the year for whatever reason. I can't find it in here. But nonetheless, our calls involving weapons out on the streets are obviously continues to grow as we've tracked them in recent years, and just to highlight the fact that our calls are becoming increasingly more dangerous and requiring more staff to handle those calls. So that's all I really had to point out, unless there's any other questions on this report.
Well, if we go back a few years and that security meeting I attended over in Oshkosh, I think, and they had the long table full of anything and every kind of weapon almost. And I mean, that had happened within, I'll just say, a year period or something like that. And we're not seeing that here. I don't know if people have got to the point where they understand single point of entry is they're going to be screened. I'm hoping that's the way it is to save any conflicts. But boy, they had everything. They had credit card knives and just stuff that I didn't even know existed.
I remember that from Marathon County. That was like their first 6 months of their new single entry point or something.
Yeah.
That was crazy, the amount of stuff they had.
All right. Anyone? Mr. Baker, good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, I'm looking at your investigations division part of your report. And obviously drugs are a major contributor to your investigation staff. Of the 27.8% of drugs that are listed on your graph there, are all of those in this county or are part of those involved with the Central Wisconsin Task Force for the drugs?
Mr. Chair. Yeah, those are cases generated through for Adams County. So not saying that the task force wouldn't be involved with those, but it's the case. Those numbers are derived from our cases, and the case would only be originated if it was in Adams County.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Pease.
I'm glad he brought investigations up. Did you hire another investigator again, sir?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. So we will appoint that person at the end of summer. So we're gonna keep the person's a patrol officer that is on the eligibility list. So we filled an investigator position, I believe it was in February or March area. And during that time, we created a hiring process, and there was an eligibility list. So that person will go into the investigator role sometime after summer, August area.
Yeah, good. All right. What about Quincy? Last summer, you had the extra duties. How about this year?
Yes, we do have that again this year. That started Memorial weekend. And so basically we have about 24 hours of patrol coverage out there on the weekends, starting on Friday. It'll obviously be a little bit more on the 4th of July since the 4th is on a Tuesday this year. So it'll be a little bit more hours, but generally about 24 hours of patrol coverage out there.
And you are compensated from Quincy for that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So they pay us the deputy wage on our fee schedule that we have that you guys pass each year as part of the budget. So we pay them that. Generally speaking, those Quincy hours are filled by our school resource officers that work the patrol on the summertime.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Seeing none, we're going to wrap this up.
Do we need to make a motion to approve that annual report?
I don't know the answer to that. Was that a yes? I have authorization from this table up here that we should go ahead and make a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Motion made by Pease, seconded by Carvolio. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Motion carried. Okay, upcoming agenda items. Please let Cynthia or me or Lyanna know. And with that, next meeting date?
July 12th.
7/12, 9 a.m. All right. That all being said, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for attending.